The European Union on Wednesday threatened to ban exports of COVID-19 vaccines to Britain to safeguard scarce doses for its own citizens. European Commission head Ursula von der Leyen said they had to make sure that Europeans are vaccinated as soon as possible.
All options are on the table. We are in the crisis of the century. And I'm not ruling out anything for now, because we have to make sure that Europeans are vaccinated as soon as possible. Human lives, civil liberties, and also the prosperity of our economy are dependent on that, on the speed of vaccination, on moving forward.
She called for more reciprocity from countries that are also vaccine producers and singled out Britain, airing frustrations over lack of deliveries from AstraZeneca. She warned further restrictive measures on vaccine exports were on the table. The situation threatens plans announced by the Commission to launch a green digital certificate, which von der Leyen said would help member states bring back the freedom of movement safely. Southern EU countries relying on tourism and other proponents of the new COVID-19 certificate hope it would win final approvals in June and go online in time for the peak season. But countries including France, Belgium and Germany have voiced skepticism.
Good morning.
A Georgian man facing murder and assault charges after the fatal shootings of 8 people, including 6 Asian women at Atlanta area spas, indicated he had sexual addiction issues and may have not been motivated by racial hatred. Tuesday's killing have intensified fears among Asian Americans who have experienced increased attacks since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic a year ago. It was also the latest gun violence in the United States with numerous deaths. According to officials, the 21-year-old suspect, Robert Aaron Long, was charged with 8 counts of murder and 1 count of aggravated assault. Officials said Long indicated he may have frequented the spas where Tuesday's violence occurred, although authorities could not immediately confirm whether he visited any of them. Authorities said Long was heading to Florida when he was apprehended, perhaps to carry out further shootings. U.S. authorities were trying to determine whether the attacks were inspired by anti-immigrant or anti-Asian motivation or some personal grievance.
The Dutch went to the polls on Wednesday on the final day of a national election fought during the coronavirus pandemic, with Conservative Prime Minister Mark Rutte expected to be granted a 4th term in office. The election is widely seen as a referendum on the government's performance during the crisis, in which more than 15,000 people have died of COVID-related illnesses, and police have clashed with protesters opposed to lockdown measures. With a nighttime curfew in place due to continuing high infection rates and a ban on public gatherings during the day, the campaign was conducted mostly through television debates. Rutte's main rivals have criticized a slow vaccine rollout, but struggle to distinguish themselves as they support government policy. Roughly 13 million voters are eligible to pick from dozens of parties contesting spots in the 150-seat parliament. Iran has started enriching uranium at its underground Natanz plant with a second type of advanced centrifuge, the IR-4. The UN nuclear watchdog said in a report that this is a further breach of Tehran's deal with major powers. Iran has recently accelerated its breaches of the deal's restrictions on its nuclear activities in an apparent bid to pressure US President Joe Biden. Tehran's breaches began in 2019 in response to the US withdrawal from the deal and the reimposition of US economic sanctions against Iran under President Donald Trump, who opposed the agreement and sought to wreck it. Last year, Iran started moving 3 cascades or clusters of different advanced models of centrifuge from an above-ground plant at Natanz to its below-ground fuel enrichment plant. The report said Iran has indicated that it now plans to install a second cascade of IR-4 centrifuges at the FEP, but installation of that cascade has yet to begin. Former President Donald Trump said on Tuesday he will decide whether to make another run for the White House after congressional elections in November 2022. Trump has said he is committed to helping fellow Republicans try to win back control of the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate in the 2022 elections. Trump said that based on every poll, his supporters appeared ready to back him again if he ran. Trump has largely stayed out of the political spotlight since leaving office in January, other than his speech at the conservative conference in Florida. Trump has said he will campaign in the 2022 elections for candidates who back him and his policies, and against those Republicans he views as disloyal. He is also making plans to set up a super PAC political organization to support candidates he endorses. Britain's Prince Philip, the 99-year-old husband of Queen Elizabeth, left the London hospital on Tuesday after a 4-week stay for treatment for an infection and to have a heart procedure. Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, was admitted to the King Edward VII's hospital on February 16 after he felt unwell to receive treatment for an unspecified but not COVID-19 related infection. He was transferred briefly at the start of this month to a specialist cardiac center at another London hospital, where he underwent a procedure for a pre-existing heart condition. A Reuters witness said the Duke left the King Edward Hospital shortly after 10:30 GMT on Tuesday. There was no immediate comment from Buckingham Palace.